Hello everybody, this is Houston Brown with Houston Brown Photography, and in this video we're going to go over my methodology or my workflow for how I go through all my images after a photo shoot and filter them down using stars and flags and keywords and the colors. I don't use them really for ranking purposes, but more as a where I am in the workflow indicator. So also we're going to be going over the awaiting review section, which we covered in the previous video just very lightly. I just showed you where it was in the file hierarchy, but we're going to be covering a little more detail on how that gets used in this video. So let's get started. Okay, so here I have a house that I shot. As you can see over here on the left, there's 606 images. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start at the very end of the shoot and work my way backward. And the reason for that is when I'm shooting, I may shoot several bracketed images. I might screw something up. I don't like the way the bracket worked out. So it's always the last set that is the good set, if you will. So I found myself when I first started doing this is starting at the beginning, and I would forget that when I shot, say for example, the living room, and I did maybe a bracketed shots of 4, and it's like, oh, I didn't like that. It was the end shots too overexposed. I didn't like that I went 1 stop. I needed to go 2. You know, whatever reason, I shot it again. Maybe even a 3rd time. Maybe even a 4th time. Who knows? So always it's that last set that's good. So I started working from the back end, and then that way I didn't waste time trying to put together a set of images only to realize that, oh, I have 3 other sets here. And that's kind of how I worked, is linear through. You might do it a different way, and if you never made that mistake, then you're probably a little bit smarter than I am at this approach. But I just work backwards now, and then that way I know. So what I would do is I would go back through here. Now in this set, this is a completed set. I've already gone through here. This is a completed project out the door, so you're going to see a lot of stars here. I'm not going to go through 606 images with you, but basically what I do is I'm going to go through, and any images that I'm just going to keep, just yes, they're in the pile. They're up for consideration. They get 2 stars. And my star ratings don't have to do with, oh, I like this one more than the other. This is just a way to indicate where I am in the process, okay? So this will all make sense as I go through. So I use 2 stars just to indicate the images that I want. You can see them here. And I might use them with other images to blend or what have you, whatever combination. So I just mark those with 2. Then once I have filtered them down, let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and filter this. Let's just look at the 2 ratings. Then I go through these same images, and again, working from back to front. I'm going to go through here. I'm going to say, okay, this is a bracketed set of images. Actually, it's the ones. I use single stars to show the set of images that I use to create the bracketed image. So I may have, as you can see up here, using these 4 images for the outdoor pool, I use a really low exposure to get the sky and a really higher exposure to get some more of the shadow. So these are the images that I want to keep, that I don't want to delete. So I give them 1 star, plus it indicates HDR, exposure blending, tone mapping, whatever you want to call it, or any of those above. The color I use to indicate, so here's some bracketed shots, but I used 1 shot to go in here, and I put in a Color Checker Pro out here so I can get a good white balance, because I'll walk into a room like this and I don't see anything that I can use in post after the fact that I know was white. I mean, I guess I could use these flowers, but using the color checker always works out. Now, of course, you do run into the issue of how's the color checker being lit. Is it being lit by the artificial lighting in that particular room, or is the window light hitting? And that, of course, is its own challenges, but that's not what this video is about. So I'll give this image a single star, and obviously you can see that the white balance has been made on this particular image, because you can see here. Let me go back this way, because you can see here, those are, even though it's the same image, the camera hasn't moved. So that's what I use the colors for. I don't even though you have the ability to use a flag up here, I don't really use the flag for anything. I'm still kind of playing around with that. Now I may use it if the client calls and wants a couple of specific images sent to them in some other resolution or for whatever reason. And at that point, I will use the flag to flag a couple of images to indicate these are the images that the client wanted for some special reason. Now over here to the right, you'll see this keyword tagging. Now this is something I've just recently implemented here in the last few months, but on import, and we're going to go over import in a later video, that I will assign the real estate agent's name and the address of the location. So this helps me obviously in the future. So if I need to go back and look and find it, I put all my real estate shots underneath real estate. So I have each shot listed by address. Well, if I want to see all the stuff that I've ever shot for a particular agent, I can search by that. I'm rarely going to remember the address or the name, but I might remember the street name, which is a good way to filter through your images as well. And a lot of these, I'm not saying that you're going to use these and that you should use these. These are just things I use to kind of, if you will, future-proof myself in the event that I do want to figure out different ways to go through my images rather than wait until I need to use it and then implement it. So I'm always thinking of ways that I may have to possibly filter through images or find images. So this is something you can do on import. It assigns it to every single image. Now from this point, once I do filter all my images, let's say I've gone through the whole process, and let me back up here just a little bit. 3 stars means that I have edited the image, but I'm not done with it. I'm pretty happy with it, but it needs some more tweaking. I either got tired or burned out trying to edit that particular image, or for whatever reason I just wanted to move on to the next image, and then I'll come back and go through, or maybe the next image is going to be better than this one and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this but move on. So 3 stars means that it's in process, that it has been chosen, that it has been edited, but it is not complete. Now let's go look at 4 stars. 4 stars means I am done. It is ready to go to the client. So I only use 1 through 4 stars. I don't use 5 stars. And again, this isn't a ranking thing. This is just where I am in the process of processing the images. That's all it means. So here you see one image right here. It does have a flag, and I do remember this. They wanted this image, they wanted something different about it. They wanted me to edit something special because they were going to print it. So I flagged it because I did something else to it than I did the original. So that's where there's a case right there. I use the flag. So once I have all the images ready to go, I put 4 stars on them. So now they're ready to go. So now only that, since I have images with 4 stars on them, now I may divide them up into interior and exterior images. I'm not really interested in all the other images, the ones that are rated at 3, 2, or 1, because I'm only interested at this phase in the finished product, so interior, exterior. Then once I'm all done with that, maybe a couple of months later, I'll go through here and do a little house cleaning. So you can see here a lot of these have whittled down to not so many images, and this is one that it needs to be done to, and that is to clean out all my images. Now this next part may make you cringe, but that's okay. I do it because, yes, storage is cheap and you can buy hard drives very inexpensively, but you still have to manage all of these images and they take up tons of space. So why do it, right? I don't need 600 images of this house to keep around, and all I do need is probably the finished products and those that I've given some type of ranking to.
So we're going to start.
So what I'll do at this point is I'll go up here to custom and go to unrated. So now these are all the images that are completely unrated. So look, 388
Hello everybody,
images.
and
That's
welcome
over
back to
50%,
Lightroom
or that's
Workflow.
yeah, that's more than 50% of the images.
Hello everybody,
I don't
this
need.
is Houston Brown with
So
Houston
I'm
Brown
going to select them all.
Welcome back
I'm going to hit
Lightroom
delete,
workflow.
and I'm going to
In
delete
this episode,
from
we're going to be
disk.
talking about
I don't
the
need
importing
those images
and
anymore.
exporting
I don't
of
want to
images.
keep them.
Now I know
So
that
you
seems
could
a little bit
imagine
elementary, especially
over a
if you've
period
been
of
using Lightroom
time
for a while.
I'm going to click none
But there
here,
are
so
some
all
little
those
things that you
images
might
come
pick
back.
up on, and if you're
So
just
now we
starting
only
out,
have
you'll definitely find some benefit to
218
this video.
images.
We're
So
gonna
I've
cover two different
reduced the
ways
number
to
of
import
images that I'm
your
keeping
images. So
by
let's get started.
75% roughly. Let's say 70%. So you could imagine.
So what I'm going to start out with
if I
here
didn't
is,
do
of
that
course,
all the time, which is a habit I've done always from the beginning and had the argument with many other photographers. You should never delete an image and blah, 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 blah. Well, I don't know. I just don't believe that. I know lots of people now in the digital age, we go out and take tons and tons of pictures, and we certainly throw away far more images than we keep. I know one photographer that I heard on a podcast the other day. He says that he's a prolific shooter and probably shoots 1,000 images a day, which I think is ridiculous. You might as well be videoing as you walk around, because to me that's a spray and pray technique. But you know, back in the film days, we only had 36 shots, right? So today we have digital and we just go crazy. We certainly don't need to keep 1,000 images a day. But you could imagine here with 50,000 images, if I didn't do this methodology that I just showed you, is getting rid of the images that we don't want, I'd have 3 times as many images. I'd have almost 300,000, 200-something thousand images in here. Why? I'm never going to use them. So anyways, that's my personal take on that. If you want to keep every image that you take, then you should do so. Now over here you see awaiting review, and we didn't talk about that yet, but we talked about it earlier when I talked about file structure. And in here I will put, this is where all my projects go and sit until I'm completely done with them. In other words, they all have 4 stars. I won't go through my deleting process of the images I don't need anymore, but I have gone through and ranked them all. They've all got 4 stars. They've all been delivered to the client. At that point, I will select this folder and then click and drag it to the area that it belongs to down here, which in this case, let's say I had a real estate up here, which I don't at the time. I would just drag it down here on top of real estate and it would fall into chronological order down here. So this is kind of my holding area. Once it leaves this area, I'm done. I don't have to worry about it. I used to just put everything, you know, if it was a real estate shoot, I'd put it down in here. If it was a drone shoot, I'd put it where it went. If it was with the Dallas Camera Club, I'd put it in here. But if you have several projects going on and you haven't completed them or delivered them or whatever you have to do with them, I found that they were hard for me to go and find. Where are these images? Where did I put them? Where I came up with this method where it was just a waiting area or waiting review, whatever you want to call it, staging area. Then once you're complete, then you can drag them somewhere else, and then that's kind of where they stay. So you can think of this as kind of the live editing storage area, and this down here is everything outside of awaiting review would be kind of an archival area. So simply put, I just use the stars to indicate where I am in the workflow. I use the color to indicate what images I have my color checker in so I can do a proper white balance. And then I use keywords to indicate who the realtor is, who the realtor company may be, what the address is, whether it's an interior or exterior. And this system is quite simple and it works very well. So hopefully you get something out of that. Enjoyed making the video for you guys. Enjoy making these videos. So if you have any ideas or anything else that you'd like me to do a video on, I'm happy to do so. And of course, as always, if you have a comment, please leave them below. And in the next video, we're going to talk about importing and exporting. So we'll see you in the next video.